Okay, so this is the agenda for today. So we're going to just create a basic HTML CSS web page and deploy it to GitHub pages particularly. So and I'll collected a couple of resources which you can use in your portfolio, and also we'll explain the rules that we mentioned. We just mentioned one word for that. I think it will be helpful if we just explain what are we expecting. And lastly, we can end with a question answer session if you have any questions. Also, if you're in between, if you have questions, you can always unmute and ask or put it in the chat. Mentors are there, so they can help you out. So if you want, you can follow along. I will take it slowly, but yeah, that's up to you totally. So the thing that we're going to do is the a very basic portfolio you can host inside your GitHub profile, because since you're a developer, your GitHub profile plays a big role. It shows what contributions you have done and what projects you're working on, and you can as well create your, like, for the particular user name you have, you can create your own portfolio and host it in that particular username. So like in my case, onlipson1729.github.io, I can just serve my portfolio in this particular username, in this particular URL. So for that, let's create a new repo. I can go to repo.new or github.com/new, and the repo name should be in this format. First, it should be your GitHub username. You can see it over here on Lipson1729. In your case, if it's ABC, then just abc.github.io. Okay, so this is the format: username.github.io. Make it public. You can uncheck all of this and create a repo. It will create a blank repository for you. Grab the SSH link or the HTTPS link, whichever you have. Hopefully you have Git set up in your machine right by now. We already had a session for that. And just git clone that. And it will clone an empty repository. You can see if cloned and you appear to have cloned an empty repository, it gives a warning. And let's move on. So over here, now we will be using, you can use any editor of your choice, but I will suggest you to use VS Code, because VS Code has a lot of plugins which helps making your, particularly web development, a lot easier. I will talk about a couple of plugins here. So I'm going to open up VS Code. You can use the shortcut code dot to open up VS Code, or you can just, if you're on Windows, you can manually open up VS Code and then go to that particular folder, the directory. And I will create a new file called index.html. So far, is it all right? So what we just did, we created a basic repo, we cloned that repository, and we fired up VS Code, and we're going to write our HTML code. I'm assuming you know a little bit amount of HTML, just the basics at least. I will not go into that. If you are a completely beginner, you can go to the Discord, and we have shared, okay, so you can go to the resource section, and in the beginner, I have this playlist by Cole Staley. It's an amazing playlist. It is 15 videos. It starts from very basic HTML to all the HTML semantics and everything, then CSS, and then finally ends with JavaScript. So if you're a complete beginner, just follow along this playlist. By the end of it, you will be like intermediate level in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But then it depends on how much you practice. You have to create your own web pages, because the more you practice, the better you get. And for if another advantage of using VS Code is it gives something called emmet. So when you're writing, in particular when you're using HTML, you can actually increase your productivity and a lot of speed by using emmet. So emmet is already installed. It comes installed with the latest VS Codes, and it helps in writing all the basic, the boilerplate HTML code or the tags if you want. It simplifies, it makes it easier for you to write those. For example, if I just press exclamation mark, and you can see it gives me an emmet abbreviation, and it gives me all the the boilerplate HTML code. So I can just press tab, and there it is. All the the HTML section, the doc type, then the head. You can remove the meta tags if you don't want. Then there is a title, the body, and the HTML as well. You can, let's update the title to, I will say, and inside the body, we will put our content. For the time being, I'll just put H1, and let's do hello world. Now, this is it. This is a very a simplistic, a minimalist HTML file. In order to view this file, what you need is a browser, obviously. And so if you're on Mac OS, you can just type open and index.html. It will open the index.html in the default browser. If you're on Linux, you can use xdg.open. Or if you're on Windows, you can just use your mouse and go to my computer and then open it just like this way. So go to the particular directory the file is in. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, so go to the the particular folder where the index.html file is present. Right click over it. I think you will see something like open with, and then choose any particular browser you have. It can be Chrome, Firefox, whatever. And once you open that, you will see the hello world. So this is HTML's form of writing hello world. And there it is. But this is a very tedious process, actually. So if you want to make some changes, like I want to add another H2 tag, let's say, and I will say I am, say I save it. What you have to do is, the workflow is, you save, you make changes, save it, go back to the browser, where's the browser? Then refresh it. And this is very tedious. I don't want that. So there is something called Live Server. It's an extension which is available in VS Code. You can go to this extension section and search for Live Server and click on the first thing that comes up. It's by Ritvik Dey. So it's an Indian, and actually, and there is 12 million. It's one of the most popular plugins. And install it. Here you will find an install button and install that. What will it do? It will help you. So Live Server acts as a, so I can just say, so let's say you have your file over here. And every time, and this is an HTML file, what you do is, and this is a browser, let's say, it's a very big browser. And what you're going to the particular file location, right? So over here, this is nothing but the location the index.html file is present. When you make some changes into this file, it creates a new state. But the state that the stored in the browser is the old one, so it doesn't actually automatically refresh. What Live Server does, it acts like a layer in between, and it looks for the changes, and whenever it finds the latest change, it makes the browser automatically reload. So I can show you. Once you've installed Live Browser, you can right click, and here you will find Open with Live Server. It also has a extension, and once you do that, it will serve the same file index.html in your localhost at a particular port. Also, you can see the port over here. If this port is already being used by any other process, it will use a different port. Now, if you look into, I'm going to put side by side. If I make any particular change, say I'm going to add a p tag over here. I love coding, and I save. As soon as I do that, you can see the reflection. This makes it much easier to work with. So you can put your editor on the left-hand side and the browser on the right-hand side. You can just make changes and save, and you can see the what's happening. And this is very handy. So that's one part. The second thing, as I was talking about, is Emmet. So not just the basic boiler. Okay, by the way, till this point, is everything clear, or do you have any questions? So I talked about Live Server and how it helps you in writing HTML code. Any doubts? Awesome. So let's moving on. So there now I'm going to tell you about Emmet. So Emmet comes really handy. Actually, personally, I love Emmet. So the reason why is like you can actually create tags with just with some shortcuts. Like let's say I want to create a p tag. I can just write p and tab, and it will just write the opening and the closing bracket as well, a closing tag. Not just that, you can actually do a lot of things. So let's say I want to create a p tag, and inside it I want to create an unordered list, and also it will show you over here. And inside it I want to create a li tags of, let's say 5. I'm going to do that 5 times. So it will create 5. You can do more than that. You can just want to add some some lorem ipsum text. Let's say some fake text. You can do lorem, and it gives a huge paragraph. If you want to limit it to like just 5 words or 3 words, you can do lorem 4, and you can just press enter, and boom, you have a p tag. There is a ul tag inside it, and then you have some 5 list tags. So if you save it, you get it. So this makes it much more easier, and you can do much more than that. I have added this thing called an Emmet cheat sheet. I will share the link with you. So you don't have to learn it by heart. You can just refer to it and keep using it. Eventually, it will become a habit of you. This being done, just going to so like now I can create a CSS file. Let's say I'm going to style.css. Emmet also allows you to do much more than that. So if you want to link a CSS file, you can just do link CSS, and it automatically puts this entire link tag. And I'm going to, let's say, I love dark mode, so I'm going to make the background color black, and let's make the color blue. And there it is. If you want to add fonts to your web page, it looks good if you want to add your own font, because the default font is not I don't like that font. So you can use Google Fonts. So Google Fonts is a free, I think most of the fonts are free over here, but some of them you have to pay for it. And you can type anything over here, let's say. And you can search for your font. I love Roboto. I think I will go with Roboto Mono because it gives that code vibe. Let's take a regular font, anything. So you can just select a particular style and it will tell you what to do. So you have this link tag, just copy it from here, paste it inside in the head section, save it. And there it gives the CSS rule as well. So just copy the CSS rule, go inside the body, paste it. And hopefully it has changed. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So for the time being, this is my portfolio. It looks decent enough. So now let's go to the deploy section. So how will you deploy this particular portfolio, as I said, to your to an URL so that anyone can visit that? Right now, the repo is empty. So I will just go to git status. I'm seeing index.html and style.css. Yes, so I'll git add. I hope these commands are not alien to you, because we covered this up. But if you still don't know about this thing, you can put it in the doubts. I will share some resources for that. I think the last session I did share some resources regarding this. So git add, and now I can do git status, and you will see all of them are staged. And git commit. I'm going to say update content and style added. Make sure when you're working on the portfolio website, and when you're going to submit your portfolio, you make proper commit messages, maintain them. Like right now, I added 2 things: index.html as well as style.css. You can break it down. So let's say you added a particular section, your education section. You can just write, make a commit like updated education section. So make commits like that. That makes it look original, that yes, you've done it yourself. And I'm going to do git push -c origin. I think it's main. Push main doesn't have it. Master. Yeah. It was master. So actually, you can do git remote -v, and it will show you. Actually, no, git branch -n. Yeah, it was master. So now it's over here. I can refresh this page, and you will see the index.html and style.css over here. Then go to settings, and this is so by this time we have completed your portfolio. Okay, and then now we're going to deploy it. So then under settings, you will find this pages section. And yeah, so GitHub, I think, recently updated this. Once you create a portfolio, once you create a repository with this particular user, like repo name, like your user ID.github.io, it will automatically deploy it. But yeah, you can choose the branch. You don't have to do anything like that. You can just push, and then it will automatically deploy it. So you can go to this link, and there it is. This will be your repository, the portfolio. Now you can add this portfolio to your resume everywhere. And yeah, so we'll share a form after this meet, or any of the mentors can share it in the chat right now. There you have to put this link as well as your GitHub repository. Now, some of you might already have your own repo in this manner, and maybe you have used any other frameworks or that. But if you still want to participate in this portfolio contest, you can create a new repo and then deploy that in the same manner, and then add that link. Okay. Um, I think with this, we come to an end with the first part of creating the basic HTML, CSS, and deploying it to GitHub pages. There's nothing much like fancy about it because GitHub already does a lot of this thing. Any questions so far? At any particular section, like if you had regarding deployment or Emmet or live server or anything? Am I going too fast, or should I slow down, or anything? Say anything. It's like it feels like I'm just talking to myself.
Where it's clear, but if you will slow down a bit, it will be great. A little
Okay.
bit.
Did you have any difficulty at any section? Like, the,
No, no, so yeah, it's clear.
yeah. That's it. Then, like, we are almost like the first part is complete right now. So now I can show you some resources which you can use. I will share these links and everything to you guys so that you can use it. Yeah, you can use actually. There's something I should like to add one more thing. Like, let's say if you want to further make changes, I want to let's add some other thing. Like I love coding. Just going to add some stuff like C++, Python 3. I
I
like.
had one question.
Yeah, sure.
Is proper GitHub commit necessary? I mean, will it affect our final evaluation of the portfolio?
Yes, I will say yes, because it will not just be necessary right now. Because if you have that habit of making proper GitHub commits, it's going to help you in the long run. Whether you're working on a particular organization, even certain organization go lengths to like making sure you have follow the particular format. Like I just did, something like UPD. So there are certain things like if you add a particular fix, then you have to do fix colon. If you do UPD, then if it's a feature, then FT. So these are the things which you need to follow. There is much more you can add. Commit like contain I think it's mm, description to that. You can just add like I'm not sure how to do that. I think by putting slash over here, yes, by this way. Then you can add much more to the description to it, where you can explain what commit actually does. The commit message initially has, I think, 58 or 50 to 48 characters limitation, but the rest of the message there is no limitation. So you can add a small title, and then you can describe what your commit does. This is very important because when you work on a large organization where a lot of people are making commits, it gets very difficult to look at the code and see the changes you have made. And so the commit messages are the only way to track what you've done. And it helps in debugging also. Let's say you did something destructive and you want to go back to a particular old state. And if you just make random commit messages like AB, ABC, or something like that, you will never be able to figure out at what stage you've done what. But right now, if I just go to git logs, there's nothing. I git log, just going to one line. I've forgotten all the code. It's one line. No, yeah, so it will just show, this is one commit over here. So it will show all the messages over here, commit messages and the hash as well. So you can move back to that particular commit. So a nice commit message is an indicator of, which commit it is. Yeah. So just follow, make sure you do that. Yeah. Keep that habit from the beginning itself.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just talking about something called HTML entities. Like it's not very taught in crash courses and other stuff. So you can actually use Unicode characters in your HTML, which can be used to add stuffs like emojis and stuff. So you can put like ampersand, then a hash, and then either you can use the Unicode value in decimal, or you can use the hex as well. If you want to use the hex, you have to add an X over here and end it with a semicolon. If you do that, Is my live server running? Yeah, it is. So let me go to my live server. You see, it shows A because A is the 65 is the Unicode corresponding character number value for A. So you can go to any particular, let's say, Emojipedia. I want to get a particular emoji. Let's look for waving hand. And you can go to the bottom, I guess. Yeah. So there is the 4 points over here. This is written in hex. So you can put instead of 65, you can replace that. But since it's in hex, you have to add an X in front. Save it. I should do it over here, not here. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And go back. And there you go. There's a nice waving hand. Yeah, so I make changes. So if you have made changes, now what will you do? Right now, if you go to the portfolio, you will see nothing because my GitHub repo isn't updated with my local, right? So again, I will say GitHub git status. You see there is a modification in the index.html, git add index.html, git commit minus s. Minus, I will just say skills added, and then git push. So it's going to push to my repository. And if I go to the repo, you will see 2 commits. And here is the skills added. And now if I refresh, I think it takes some time, I guess. Going to hard refresh. What's happening? Is it not there? It's there. I love coding C++, Python. Let's try it in an incognito. I'm sorry, guys. GitHub pages. It's running. So maybe 1729.github.io. Settings. Pages. Branch master. Root. How long does it take to update? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it takes some time. So yeah, now you can see the reflection, like the changes. So this is how you can make changes and then correspondingly push it to the repo, and you can see the changes in the deployed version. Yeah. So any more questions so far? Yeah. Okay, let's move on. And yeah, I'll cover this part. So yeah, so like personally, I find very difficult to find matching proper color shades. So I use this website called colors.co. It gives me a lot of just trending color palettes it gives you. So you can use all of these color palettes, and so why isn't it opening? Okay, I think I can generate one from here. So it will generate a random color palette for you, and you can use this in your. You can constantly you can use this inside your portfolio. And if you want different shades of the same color, you can use this website called Peloton. And let's say you can choose a particular color, then it will give you a lighter shade, a darker shade of the same color. There is another, if you love web gradients, you can go to this website. Oh, it's a nice loader. Yeah, so there are lots of gradients over here, and you can put it as a background for your portfolio. It looks good. Moving on, if you want stock images, Unsplash and Pexels are good places for getting free stock images. If you want icons, Flat Icon is there's lots and lots of icons over here, vectors, icons, and everything. Some of them are premium, but you will find a free as well. For SVGs and doodles, I love this thing. So I love Undraw. I always use it. So it gives you these amazing SVGs which you can use even in your, like, let's say you're making a hackathon and you have created a product and you're creating a landing page for that product. You can use this as well. You can use it in your own portfolio also. So like, I think for education, there are certain things like, you can search, I guess. Oh, here's a search. So education, is there anything? Yeah, so if you make an education section, you can add this SVG, and then beside you can put your education. You can also choose different colors from here, all of these are SVGs. So I will always suggest you to use SVGs because sometimes it happens when you use an image and you zoom in or in different with like dimensions of the browser. What happens is the image gets pixelated or it gets blurry. But SVGs are resizable. You can resize them to any extent, and they won't blur or anything like that. So you can use Undraw for that. There are much more doodles you will find in this website. So there are lots and lots of doodles. You can use anything which resonates with your personality. So there are much other website like Glaze Stocks. It has some 3D and colorful images and stocks. And then finally, Iconsite. So you can use all these resources to your portfolio, and you can just design it, make a really nice one for yourself. I will share these resources with you. Moving on to the judging criteria. So the judgment will be done on the basis of the responsiveness of the website. So like right now, there are so many devices out there. So there are like every device has its own dimensions, right? And you have to make sure the website you're creating fits in all of those. So I'm just going to give an example of a person's portfolio website. I don't know the person, but so he has created this website. And if you just, let's say I make it smaller, make the screen smaller, you will see it automatically adjusts itself. The font got smaller over here. And there is a break. So these are called breakpoints. So at different breakpoints, different certain code snippet, like certain tags will be displayed. The other ones won't be displayed. Something like that happens. You can the code still the playlists that are shared. They will find responsiveness over here. Yeah, inside this responsive design and media queries in 30ish minutes. So there he talks about this, how to make these responsive websites. So in the blog section, if you look, so in this particular breakpoint, this became a much smaller one. If I increase a little bit, this is I think medium. Over here, it gets a bit wider. And if I go large, it becomes this floating kind of thing. You can take ideas from different portfolios out there. Moving on, then accessibility is a big thing, but we won't be judging on much on the basis of accessibility because you guys are just beginners, but still you should make sure that you're using proper HTML tags for like the correct HTML tags at the places. Don't use divs everywhere. If it's a section, use a section. If it's a like a heading, use header. You will also find something that is called semantic HTMLs. So HTML has a lot of semantic elements. HTML5 basically. HTML4 doesn't have this. There are like articles, aside, details, figure, footer, header. Make sure you're using this. This improves the accessibility of your website. If you want to know more about accessibility, I have also added a playlist for that. Yeah, accessibility cast by Google Devs. So you can watch this. I've kept it in the advanced section because unless you're trying to be a front-end UI/UX designer, you don't need that, but still it's always good to have these skills. You can follow this playlist. So that's going to be, that is basically make sure you're using the code properly and your code is readable. Make sure you have proper CSS classes, class names, and that's it. Design, yes, it should look good. I mean, don't just make it like mine. Don't keep it like this. Make it much more interactive and whatever we feel good for you. And yes, if you're thinking out of the box, if you create something new, which we have never seen, then definitely there will be some extra marks. And make sure you deploy it properly. Yeah, that's it basically. Any questions regarding the judging criteria or any particular resource you want or any doubts you have?
Yeah, I had a doubt related to the portfolio thing. Do we need to add all our achievements or just related to some particular skills?
So the reason we are making this portfolio contest is that like I don't have a portfolio so far. So if you make a portfolio, it becomes like useful for some other person. Let's say a recruiter contacts you and want to know more about you. And a portfolio is a place which will have all the sections, right? Your achievements and your education, your projects that you've worked on. So make sure you add all of these and make it a final one. So after the portfolio contest ends, eventually, if you have more and more achievements, make sure you constantly update your portfolio as well as your resume. It's important. And I think your question was based on which kind of achievements you want to add. Is that your question, or like?
Yes, it's like suppose I'm showing the portfolio for like a web developer role. So do I need to add all the projects related to web development, or can I also add suppose some other projects as well?
So if you have a lot of projects, and then what you can do is you can create subsections inside the portfolio, inside the project section also. So let's say you've done projects on robotics, then you can just projects, then make a web development like websites and something like that. Then you can do robotics, and then under that you can put projects. Then other things like if you've created a game or anything like that, you can do like that. And you can always not just display everything, you can keep a section like read more projects or something like that. Yeah, you can do that. And if you, and regarding like this is just portfolio. See, in portfolio you can add as many as you want, because there is no limit in a portfolio. But in resume you have, it's better to keep it inside one page, so there you have to choose between which project you want, which project actually shows your skills and everything. But in portfolio you can go free. So that's why it's good to show every project that you've done, because also the recruiter will see that yes, you've done a lot of projects. So yeah, you can go for all the projects.
Okay, Bhaiya.
So anything related to the contest or any question? So yeah, there is this link. Put your name, your G Suite ID, email over here, and choose the department here, the GitHub repo. So in my case, the repo will be this repo. So I will just copy this one, this entire repo, and the deployed portfolio link. So in my case, this will be this one. Put it over here and make the submission. So what you can do, what I'm suggesting is that you create a very basic something like that. Just create an index.html with a hello world, deploy it, and put and make the submission. Then you just keep making changes constantly and pushing it. We will not be checking in between, but only on the after the 4th of July when the contest ends. After that, we will make the judgments. So I will suggest you to do this, to submit this form within the next few days, maybe by tomorrow. Okay, so I will share the link in the Telegram. It's there right now in the chat, so you can take it from there.
Can you share the web page with which had all the resources?
Yes, I will do that. It's not a web page; it's like my stack edit. So I will share it in the. I will share it in the actually the Discord, because I feel if I do it in the Telegram after a month, you will not be able to find them. So, what do you suggest? Should I keep it in Discord or just share it in the Telegram?
On Discord will be better.
In Discord, Bhaiya.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. So I will just put Discord over in the development section. Also, some of you have not yet got the roles. So I've seen a lot like introduce yourselves. Yeah, most of you have not got the roles. So just go to this roles and click on this one, and that will give you a participant role. Now what that does is basically it helps me tag you people. So I can just put participants, and all the participants get tagged, and you will get a notification. That's it. Yeah. And if you have any doubts in between, you can always put it in the doubt section. You can tag the mentors. Don't spam, but just tag it. And if you want any help, we can move on to the discuss section and just have a discussions, live discussion hangout. And I was thinking, like it's up to you guys. Like we are the mentors. We are not going to judge. The judgment will be done by third year seniors. And so what we can do is in between, like like after the 5th day or some 6th day, you can show us your portfolio and we can give you feedbacks. And then you can just, for the rest other 5 days, you can work on those feedbacks. So we can keep a session for that. And always you can just share it in your in the general and just ask for feedbacks like, "Bhaiya, I've done this. What else I can do?" Something like that. Okay. Yeah, that's it then. If you have no more questions, I guess we can stop here. Okay, so bye guys. Do participate. If you need help, we are there for you. The other mentors are also there. And enjoy.